Hello. Okay, so I'm getting a message today about money and the financial system. I pulled a couple cards before I turned the camera on. The first card I got is reverse six of coins. And this is about how sort of unjust things have been, how people haven't been paid adequately for their labor, and how that's increasing and it's intentional. It's this intentional pressure that's being placed on people because we're kind of being pushed to make decisions that are not in our best interest because of this financial squeeze. So people are being squeezed financially, and it's an intentional effort by certain people who hold a lot of power to push us into a particular system in which we would give away even more of our power. The second card I pulled is reverse 10 of coins. And this is in a way a similar message, but it's like even for people who have more security, who aren't necessarily caught up in the cycle of, wage labor, wage slavery, who have savings, who have houses. Now, this is not a message of, you know, this is not to say people are going to lose all their savings, lose their houses, anything like that. There is nothing to fear. Um, and in part, this message is coming through to help us not go into fear as things continue to play out on Earth, right? But this is a message that the pressure, the squeeze, the financial squeeze applies to people from all walks of life. And the third card I pulled is reverse King of Pentacles, King of Coins. So it's almost like whatever class you're in, this applies, and almost more so to those who have had the most wealth. Um, and that like this is sort of a reiteration of how just things have been, how manipulated things have been, how to what extent we've been controlled through money, through the monetary system. Um, it's been very dark. It's been a mechanism of control. It's been unjust, and things are shifting. There's a lot of change, and that is going to impact us financially, materially. But interestingly, the next card I pulled was the Sun card. And this is a card, this is a beautiful card. This is a card of play and joy and innocence and childhood. And, even as adults, accessing that, the inner child or that sense of play and joy and innocence, no matter what age we are, right? And what's coming through is also like nature, right? The sun itself, and how that is a form of currency, how the land, the nature, flowers, plants, animals, like, earth itself is abundant and is resourced. And this is like, we're going to be okay, even though there is all this turbulence and, yes, a redistribution of wealth. And it may feel difficult while it's happening, but it's actually very positive. Um, it's like, now we have to be careful of the way these things are talked about in the media, because it's like, let's say there's a market crash. I'm not saying necessarily that's going to happen, okay? But there's likely to be, let's say, market turmoil. And this is for the coming months, I'm feeling. Um, and there will probably be a lot of like fear mongering and melodrama in the way it's spoken about in the media. But really, It's because those with the most wealth and the most power will be most impacted. Um, it's going to look dire, but in a strange way, something very positive is going on here. And I'm really getting a message of like we're being encouraged to recognize that money has been a system of control and that it's we really need to loosen our grip on it, even though it has been what has provided some degree of security and stability for so many of us. So we can easily feel like, I don't want to loosen my grip on it. This is, my retirement savings, or this is, how I buy my groceries. Like, what do you mean loosen my grip or release attachment to money? Like, what does that mean? How are we going to be okay? But there's an invitation for us to put our sense of safety and security in different places. It just because there's fluctuations in the monetary system that are likely to be coming doesn't mean we won't be okay, doesn't mean we won't be safe, doesn't mean we won't be secure, and doesn't mean we won't be able to buy groceries. That's an illusion because the whole monetary system is an illusion. It's a delusion. It's a mechanism of control. And we were kind of pushed into buying into it, right? And that's been going on for so long that we kind of feel like there's no other option, there's no other alternative, or some of us feel that way, right? Of course, the more you yourself have invested into um, your security in that form, right? Going to school, getting an education, saving money, purchasing a home, etc. The more we've invested into that, the more destabilizing and scary it is when there's potential fluctuations to that, right? It makes sense. Like the less you have to lose, the less you have to lose. The more you have to lose, the more you, right? But this is really a message that it actually will be positive for everyone, not to lose hope, to put our faith in one another, in the earth, in the sun, in our innocence and our joy, and to see that like market destabilizations, let's say, are happening because or likely to happen because there's been so much corruption and deceit and manipulation and control. So as that comes to light, as there's kind of movement behind the scenes to remedy that, it's like there's some growing pains in that process, but we are on a good track. It's an interesting message. I don't fully understand it. I don't understand why. Like, why is this? Like, it would be nice to have more details about what we can expect in terms of if we are being asked to release our attachment to money. And it's not to say that, bank accounts are going to be wiped clean. So please don't assume that that's what I'm saying, right? It's like, let's say, even when there are market crashes, like we use the word a crash, but oftentimes, people might lose, let's say, 10% of their savings, and that can feel like a big hit, but the savings are still there. So not let's not exaggerate it. Let's so when there's a message of like encouraging us to release our attachment to money, it's not to say that we're going to lose everything, okay? But it's to say, let's start to shift our sense of security elsewhere, recognizing that what we have been made, coerced into depending on for security is so corrupt and dark, right? Like, and this does relate to those files that are being released right now, and how we're starting to recognize the degree of corruption and that word doesn't quite do justice to what we are seeing has been going on for a long time behind the scenes in the halls of power. Um, and so it's like the more and more we see that, it's like, why would we continue to buy into that system? Why would we continue to align ourselves with that? And, well, the reason why is because we are so sure that that's where our security is, right? The more savings we have, the more we are likely to feel that way, but it's not true. That actually isn't secure for any of us, because it ties us into this very dark, even demonic system. Okay, let's pull another card, see what else we can learn about this situation. So let's just get confirmation. You're seeing that spirit, right? I'm talking to spirit, that there's going to be fluctuations, maybe some kind of a crash, but it's not going to it's not going to mean that suddenly overnight we're all going to be kind of in dire straits, right? Right. Yes. Confirmation. Um, it's more like, well, let's pull a card and see what other messages want to come through, because okay, so I got the Seven of Swords reversed. This is kind of like the truth's coming to light. It's about like confession, right? Upright, this can be deceit and theft. Okay, so this is a message of like, we've all been stolen from, all, the vast majority of humans, regular humans, the elite, let's say, have literally been stealing from us, literally, and that's coming to light, right? The truth is coming out. We are starting to see through the deceit, through the lies, through the manipulation, and there's a sort of turbulence that comes along with that, but ultimately it's very positive. Okay, reverse Queen of Cups. We've been dependent on the monetary system. We've been, and again, we've been kind of pushed into it, pushed into this dependence. And it's almost like a form of codependent relationship with money, with a very unhealthy, corrupt system. So let us place our faith, our what we're collaborating with, what we're working with elsewhere. And there's very likely to be a lot of emotions coming up. Three of Swords, heartbreak, as we see the extent to which we've been lied to. It's not just these files, that's just the beginning. We can expect several years of revelations, of revealings, of seeing through the lies, the deception, the deceit more clearly. And it's going to be a painful emotional process for many of us, especially those who are new to this kind of information, who haven't yet realized that this is what's been going on for a long time. Of course, there are some of us who've already known that for a while. And for those of us who have known this, it's a very different experience, right? It almost feels like a relief that finally other people are realizing, because first of all, we don't have to hold that knowledge, those truths ourselves, like alone, even though there have been many of us have been, the one within our friend group, our family, or maybe, maybe we've had a couple others in our lives, but it has felt oftentimes very solitary and very painful to have to carry the weight of those truths largely alone, when most other people in the world, will deny it, will sometimes even make fun of you or talk down to you. So for those who have known the degree of corruption for a while, it's going to be a very different experience. And this isn't about, I told you so. This is about, on a deeper level, our mission is now to hold space for those other people in our lives who are finally waking up, right? This is what we wanted for so long, for everyone else to realize the truth, and that is happening. And we need to have compassion for those people as they go through this awakening, because it's very painful, right? It's very painful, but ultimately it's very positive and will lead to the end of this corrupt order, right? We need to go through the pain. And there's a message too here coming through around, we heal by turning towards the pain, not away from it. And of course, in like titrated doses, right? Like a little bit at a time is usually enough, but we have to stop repressing what is difficult, painful, ugly, hard to look at. And that is how we heal as individuals and as a collective as well. Okay, so I want to know more about this, this turbulence. Like, are we going to be shifting to a different monetary system altogether? Are they going to, like, is this whole idea of like programmable money and digital ID, is that likely to come through? Are they going to try it? Like, tell us more about this transition, please. Put your faith in one another. Okay. Okay, justice card reversed. This isn't about, it's like the scales of justice are rebalancing. Going into like righteous anger is not the way forward. So as truths are revealed, it's a very tempting. It can seem like obviously the right path to get really angry, to become irate, to demand justice, to demand so and so go to jail, etc., etc. But that is not the path spirit is inviting us towards. And there's even a risk of like playing into that old game. It's like we don't want to give our precious attention and energy to those old systems. Justice will be served. Let God be in charge of justice. And of course, that's not to say there isn't like an important aspect of like the legal processes. So, of course, if you're like a lawyer who's involved in this, then, that is your business. But for most of us, our business is elsewhere. It's to, again, that sense of like putting our faith in one another. And it's so funny because I think that in itself is likely to bring up fear for people of like, but am I going to lose my home? How am I going to pay my bills? But it's like, I don't know. It's so funny. And just getting this message of like, we don't have to worry about that. Hmm. Strength card. Have faith. Justice will be served. Trust yourselves. Don't allow yourself to fall into fear, greed, control. Stay strong. Help one another. Trust that it'll be taken care of, which is, and it's like, yes, by spirit, but also by each other. It's like we have to trust that even though there's so much corruption and degradation, we have to also trust that there are still good, honest people in positions of power in the banking system, even in the governance systems, um, who are working away behind the scenes. So it's again, it's like not to lose faith in humanity, in each other. We're righting the ship. And it's like it's almost like the ship has been capsized. We're turning it right side up. We're putting the sails up, and soon we're going to be sailing and we're going to feel free as a human collective. But we need to have patience and trust and surrender and strength in the human spirit, in the human collective. Sometimes it takes the most dire circumstances to bring out the best in people. So don't let yourself go into fear. If you are going into fear, then it's like we're off track in a way. It's like we've misinterpreted the message, or we're going down a line of thought that is misaligned. So if any message or thought process is bringing up fear, you can trust that you're on the wrong track. So this is a message of like finding inner wisdom. Fear may naturally arise, but let's not pander to it. Let's not cater to it. Let's not amplify it. Fear is the old way. Fear is precisely what got us hooked into that demonic system of power through money. Okay. This does not mean like mass chaos all over earth. That's not what this message is about. It's some fluctuation, some turbulence, some change, and much will be made of it. So notice also the way things are kind of spun in the media and how so much is made like it's like fear is a very common frequency that is spread through the media. So use your own inner source of wisdom to rewrite the stories that are being told to us. And we each have that ability within us. If you're telling yourself a story that leads to fear, it's the wrong story. It's false. You're being misled or you're misleading yourself. And that doesn't mean turn away from the truth, right? So, like, some message may, any message might trigger fear within you. It doesn't necessarily mean that message is wrong. It could be how you're interpreting it, how you're responding to it, how you're holding it, what you're making it mean. So this message here is sort of to help us prepare for turbulence, for change. Okay, reverse Eight of Pentacles. This is like, don't be afraid to cultivate new skills, to learn new crafts, even for those of you who may feel like you're, too old, right? We're never too old. We can always learn new things. And often when we talk about this kind of thing, people immediately go to like, oh, I need to move to the country and start growing my own food. But that's not appropriate for everyone. We all have a place, and there are many different kinds of skills and crafts and expertise that are needed. So don't believe all the stuff about AI. We don't necessarily all need to learn AI. There are many, many, many different skills and crafts that are needed that will be valued. And it's almost like there in the future, there will be more value placed in the right places, in genuine, authentic skill, craft, energy. Authenticity is really big. Don't waste your time learning a bunch of stuff that some fear mongering person on the internet said you need to learn just because you're trying to be smart or strategic. Put your energy into learning what you really want to learn, into following your own authentic, intuitive draw. There's a reason you're interested in what you're interested in. Follow that. Your interests are your own intuitive guidance. Learn the skills that call to you, that feel aligned with what you authentically have to offer. Don't be afraid to try things, to learn new things. Don't make the mistake of digging yourself further into alignment with this old falling order that manipulates us through money. It's time to begin something new. And for many of you, you will already know that you will already be well on your journey of developing skills, crafts and expertise that you do feel aligned with. And it's like you will be rewarded. It's like many of the services and skills that have not been valued in the previous order are precisely what will be valued in the future. So don't lose faith. Don't be disheartened. Keep your sight fixed on the future, on what we're creating together. Believe in it. Act according to it. Act according to a beautiful future, because if we all act according to a more beautiful future that we might create, then we will create it, right? We have to believe in ourselves. We have to believe in humanity. And it's like by believing in a beautiful future for ourselves, we can make it so, right? We are more powerful than we have been led to believe. There's also a message coming through around work. And, a lot of people talk about like work is not needed. We won't need to work in the future. AI will do it for us. We're transcending work. Um, we're all going to live a life of luxury. um, but there can be incredible joy in work that is aligned, right? Um, People who do work that they love feel a deep sense of purpose and satisfaction through that. A life of luxury can be incredibly impoverished. We have it all backwards. Like, we have this idea of, oh, I like mansions and big cars and not having to work and being able to live this life of leisure. But there's a way in which that can even be impoverished. Find something you love to do and offer it to others. The gift of offering your service, your energy, your skill to other people is enriching and rewarding, and it's what makes the world go round. Like, that is currency is our energy, it's our love, it's what we have to offer one another. It's that exchange of energy that's the real currency. Money is the corrupted system. Again, this doesn't mean you're going to lose everything you have. Don't go into fear. It's about shifting our focus, shifting our values into what really matters. And, I'm getting a message of encouragement towards developing our skills, not to aim towards not working. And now, this doesn't mean overworking or stressing. Of course, we are rebalancing what work means, how we relate to it, what place it has in our lives. We're learning that we can approach it from a place of ease and joy and play, even work as play. That is what abundance is. Abundance isn't really about permanent vacation. That's very unrewarding, actually. And, many people haven't ever experienced that. So there's sort of this illusion of, particularly for people who've been in jobs that don't bring them joy, there can be this idea that, oh, it would be so nice to not have to ever work again. But for many people, that's an illusion. It's illusory. That's not really what it's like. Many people feel quite depressed when they don't have something meaningful, when they're not able to contribute. Being able to contribute in a good way to humanity is so rewarding and it's fruitful. Now, okay, so in the rebalancing, there may be place, like if you're someone who's very overworked and tired and really is longing for that kind of permanent vacation, it may be entirely appropriate to find rest, a period of rest. And that may arise for you, like even in the coming years. This isn't necessarily an immediate thing, but some people may have the opportunity to really take extended breaks. And so sometimes people long for that life of leisure, but what really may be needed is like 3 months of rest, and then it may be very spontaneous and authentic and organic, that there comes a day, if we really truly allow ourselves to rest as much as needed, that we will feel ready to contribute again, to offer, to give, right? Because our work, if it's aligned work, is a form of giving, it's a form of generosity. And to give and to receive, right? To turn the first card we pulled right side up, to give and receive in equal exchange, in right exchange, it's I'm getting this idea of like, or this message of like, that's what makes the world go around. That's coming through because it's like, it's not money that makes the world go around. It's giving and receiving in joy and love because we care for one another, because we want to give, right? And through our giving, we will receive. And that's sort of what is on offer for humanity, is that kind of rebalanced relationship where, you know, people will receive in a just way for what they give, for what they have to offer. And that's beautiful and something to look forward to, not something to fear. And it's funny because I was wanting to like ask all these specific questions, like what's coming down the line, what kinds of systems, like is there going to be a market crash? But it's kind of like that's just more fear mongering. That's like an example of my own misaligned thought process around this message of trying to know all the details, trying to know the future, even though the future isn't fixed. And it's really like focus on what matters and trust. Okay, so reverse Queen of Wands, what's that about? Like fear that justice won't be served, control, it's like trust yourself, trust your own creativity, trust your own intuitive guidance. Express your joy. Um, let's get a clarifying card here. What is this about? Queen. Okay, so it's like the it's like the fall of the old order, the fall of royalty in a way. And so we have to not get ourselves caught up in it. It's like and it may impact us, but we need to see that what's falling is the systems of power, not us, right? Like if we are aligned, we don't have anything to worry about. And in fact, we have everything to look forward to. Um, it's the royalty, right? The elite, whatever you want to call it, they're the ones being taken down. And through that, yeah, there may be some turbulence, but we're all going to be so much better off. Like, think about how they've been siphoning our energy, our labor, our money, our assets, our resources for themselves. And once they're no longer able to do that, that's going to be able to be distributed, right? There's going to be so much more for everyone after this shift. I think that's it. Is that it for today? It's like we don't need to know all the details because I still find myself kind of wanting to know more, but okay, and then the devil came out. So it's almost like that's the fear, that's the devil talking. That's how we get coerced back into reliance on the old order, is needing to know the details, needing to know what it means for us, needing to know we'll be safe. It's like we will be safe. We will be better off. Um, we need to trust and like faith is really key here. We are overcoming the devil, the the dark forces. I don't know. This is what it looks like. We're winning the battle, the spiritual battle, and we need to not let our fear trick us back into playing along, into complicity, into aligning ourselves with that order, or quote unquote order, the demonic order, the corrupt order, out of fear, right? Okay, so last card, reverse 10 of Wands. And what I'm getting from this card is that a lot of it is not our responsibility. Like, sometimes I resist saying this kind of thing because I'm not religious, and I know many of you may not be religious either. And yet we're really being encouraged to trust in God. And, it's hard to say that because sometimes it can sound like saying nothing almost, especially people who may not have a, it's like the term God, the notion of God is so loaded and corrupted too. And even like the corruption of religious institutions is actually connected to those demonic forces of power, right? What we were talking about before. And so, because religious institutions have been so corrupted, many of us have a negative association with God, or even with like talking about the devil, right? Um, but this time sort of is asking us to find faith, and you don't have to use the word God. You can use another word if you want, but the idea is it's not up to us alone. And yes, it's up to all of us together, but even more so, it's up to spirit, it's up to God. And the more we can trust in that and find ways to begin working with source, the better. And we can let go of the burden of feeling like it's all on us as an individual or even as a human collective. Stop trying to control everything. Stop trying to hold it all. Stop trying to know it all. Ask for assistance from spirit and trust. Okay. I hope this was helpful. I mean, it's this message has been coming through in different ways in the last while of like, this is a turbulent time, and on the surface it looks dark, but really the news is good. And we're being encouraged to trust, to trust that the scales of justice are being righted, that we will be okay. Okay, stay strong, my loves. You can find more about me in the links below. I offer private readings, astrology, tarot, energetics. I have a membership where we have astrology circles. We do guided practices. There's Q&A calls. It's really fun, and it's beautiful to be able to have community and support around some of this. So if you resonate, check that out. And please do like and subscribe and comment and share. Those really do help. It helps the algorithm. It helps other people who may benefit from this message to see it, to receive it. So I really appreciate that. And I really appreciate you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being who you are, and sending my love. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.